My name's Al Spangler. I work here at the National Museum of the Pacific War, and I served in the Air Force. Being able to join the Society of Sons and Daughters of World War II veterans gives me an opportunity to honor my father and to preserve not only his legacy, but the legacy of all those who served in World War II for my family and others, because a lot of times your family doesn't realize, they never look back in their ancestral tree and realize that there's someone there that paid a price for the freedom that they enjoy. When I'm talking to the school groups, I say, this is basically a description of the greatest generation that you can emulate. I said they were just ordinary citizens with extraordinary determination who would never let circumstances be an excuse for not achieving. You live that example, you honor them, and you'll be the type of citizen necessary to preserve it for the next generation.